Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Terran, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on a map called King's Cove. Spotting right here in the bottom right hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. We have the man who's considered to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. Of course, we're looking at none other than Serral's main hatchery. His opponent, a European Terran player. Lucky maybe for Serral, this time around it's not Clem, but he is certainly ranked amongst the very best on the server. With the blue SCVs, we have none other than Spirit. Alrighty, this particular series was played during Home Story Cup. Sadly for me, I do know who ended up winning it, but I don't know what happened in the games, so I figured today we will go ahead and have a look and see exactly what ended up going down between these two. Now, we are starting off on King's Cove, and this is a macro map. And both of these players are macro players. This is a map where you can take your 3rd base very easy, you can take your 4th base really easy, you can take your 5th base really easy, you can take your 6th, your 7th, and if you're really creative, you could probably even take the 8th relatively easily. You can take all the bases on this map, well, without too much trouble usually. So if you want to expand, you can go ahead and pull that off. Most of the time. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't see quick games, but it does seem that most of the time in the current map pool of StarCraft 2, King's Cove does bring the long games, and there's no denying that Spirit really enjoys building a command center or two when he's ahead, and the same can be said for Serral. Well, he doesn't build command centers, but whenever he's ahead, he will prefer building another base rather than going all in. So, let's see. For now, nothing out of the ordinary. I'm honestly not really expecting anything all too crazy, especially not from Serral. Serral's already very deliberate here with his Overlord scouting path. This is a position where proxy barracks can easily be built. Apparently the 2nd Overlord has been tasked with that, and the same for this one. Apparently the 1st Overlord, rather than hanging out on the pillar, this is always interesting me, right? So this is a map that was around back in like 2019 or so. We had this map in the map pool for some time. Usually, Zerg players would be flying their very first Overlord to this position right over here. Every single map back in the day had one of these pervert pillars for Overlords to, well, snoop on the Terran with. But these days we do, generally speaking, see a scout going through the main base, and that's what Serral's trying to set up over here. Trying to see if he can easily make its way right around the left side. Reaper being a little bit of a nuisance, but so far not really getting a whole lot done. Creep Tumor is gonna go down uncontested, and Serral apparently not too threatened by the Reaper. Sometimes against Clem, he will be building that very first Creep Tumor, like all the way over here, just to be as safe as possible, but apparently against Spirit, he's immediately going for the most aggressive positioning right over here on that Creep Tumor. This is almost a bit of an insult, by the way, to a top-level Terran. When you're putting it right out in the open in the most vulnerable spot, well, right from the get-go, that is a bit of a small mental victory. This is a triple CC opener, though, for Spirit. He's building his 3rd command center. It's about halfway done at this point. We do have a starport over here, too. We're probably going to see a tech lab and then a good old Hellion Banshee start. Doesn't have to be. I'm curious, actually, whether or not Spirit is going to play mech. Terran mech has been a little bit more popular as of late. Especially with the new multiplayer balance patch, the Cyclone has just really changed up once again, and it seems to be making Terran mech a little bit more viable. Plus, of course, when you do think you're going to be able to play a long game, since the Ghost is now more supply heavy. Oh, wow. Serral actually has... he has an Overlord within vision range of where the fusion core over here was built. This is a battlecruiser start for Spirit. Spirit is trying to rush BCs. Now, sadly for him, I don't think he realizes it, but he built that fusion core within range of the Overlord. That's almost a little bit surprising. The fact that he just built it right over there, when there's an Overlord about 50% of the time, like either it's going to be over here, but he didn't see it over there, like he could have spotted it flying in. Yeah, Serral's not even going to bother now. He realizes exactly what he's playing against. Cheeky little battlecruiser start. It's prompting a much faster lair than what Serral would normally be opting for. There it is. Okay. Battlecruiser operational. Well, give it another minute or so. They do take a long time to build. Lucky for Serral, though, because he sees it, and that means that he's not just going to be relying on queens to deal with it. Instead, he's going to be able to, for example, go up to a spire. That is the most likely choice here. Technically, you could go Hydras, but Hydras kinda suck against BCs. Corruptors are a hell of a lot better. And if it's only a single battlecruiser, you could also go into Mutalisks. Spore Crawlers coming up. We'll probably see more Queens. Yep, Queen number 9 and 10 are coming right now too. We should see a Spire right now. No, okay, alright, well, it'll count. Double Factory on the back of this too, so this is indeed Spirit going full mech. Right from the start. So what I was trying to say earlier, I actually don't know if I ever finished my train of thought, but since the Ghost is now one supply heavier, in general, Terran mech is a very good option in the late game. BC has decided to jump all the way across. Serral right now scouting. This is actually a really crucial scout. He's checking whether or not there is additional BC production. Whether or not the Yamato Cannon research would be coming up right now, because it could decide. Like, if he realizes right now, okay, my opponent is only making one battlecruiser, you could go into Mutas instead. This is going to be an additional BC, although the second one was a little bit delayed. Making like 10 Corruptors against this sort of thing is... Yeah, it's a good idea when you're going up against multiple battlecruisers, but against a single one, it could be a bit wasteful. We'll have to see what Serral decides to go for. For now, though, it's just a good old 4th hatchery coming up. Zerglings are trying to see if they can go across. We have the Cyclone upgrade, we have the Hellion upgrade, we have 1-1 coming up as well inside of the armories. Second battlecruiser. If we're gonna go second BC, we should also go for a third, and when we go for a third, we may as well go for the weapon refit, which unlocks the Yamato Cannon upgrade. Now, Serral had some Zerglings to try and shield away against those Hellions. BC? No! Fly home, little oh, no. Oof. Okay, it's important to keep them alive, because these things are 400 minerals, 300 gas each. I know I reiterate that every single time we have a battlecruiser, but these things are expensive. If you lose them for free, well, that's basically game over. This is the cost of an entire command center and then some. Second BC available. Yeah. I don't think Serral has actually scouted it. So interestingly enough, he's got the Spire. He started up +1 attacks. I was thinking he was gonna go either Mutas or Corruptors. In my mind, those were the only two options. But Serral's doing neither of them. Curious. Huh. I've never actually... This sounds really silly, but I've never really considered not making any units out of it. Sometimes you're forced into a Spire and you feel obligated to spend the money. But Serral, yeah, he's making 6 Corruptors right now, 8 Corruptors right now, but he's not really rushing them out, so to say. Really focus on the upgrades first. Speaking of the upgrades, though, 1-1 is finishing up. It is very important to go straight into 2-2. So I'm hoping here Spirit is going to fire those up as soon as he's got the money for it. You can see here with that blue circle that he is selecting the armories. There's the +2. Overseer going back in for more. This is Serral's trademark play. He sees exactly what's up. He's, yeah, well aware of the timing of the additional factories right now. So he's just checking whether or not everything is in order. And apparently, okay, he's now prompted, to go Hive, Swarm Hosts, as well as a Nidus network, as well as a Baling Nest. He's very much so diluting his economy. His unit composition is going to be amazing in the long run, and I guess it's very much so up to the Swarm Host to try and buy time. Because Serral's building a little bit of everything. There's the Yamato Cannon upgrade, by the way, finally coming up. The BCs are here. Tactical jump will be used to bring them back home. Third battlecruiser is now available too. So I think what Serral has decided is that with the timing of those factories, he knows that this is not going to be an all-in timing attack from Spirit. Instead, it's just going to be a more macro-focused style. So Serral has decided to aim for the late game. He's basically just getting all the upgrades going as quickly as possible. But he can't just go straight late game because he would probably get overwhelmed. So the task of those Swarm Hosts is to buy as much time as he can. Generally speaking, you don't play Swarm Hosts off of like 87 workers. Normally, you don't really go over any more than like 70. Mostly because the Swarm Host is a bit of an awkward unit. It's usually something that, yeah, it's very supply heavy, so your army is just kind of small. Corruptor over here. Corruptor squad over here being a little bit of a nuisance. CC has been lifted off. And this is basically turning Spirit into a bit of a punching bag, where he is essentially just forced to, well, deal with all the flames. Serral's got a very supply-heavy army, but not really that strong of an army. Roaches are very supply-heavy. Swarmhosts are very supply-heavy. Ravagers are relatively supply-heavy too. We're going once more to the left. Nidus Worm on the high ground. Yeah, in a very strange way, this is basically Serral going for a soft contain. Trying to keep that Terran player pinned back. I don't think he really believes, though, he can keep the Terran player here on 4 bases. Instead, he's going straight into the Greater Spire right now. Adrenal Glands is finishing up. We have another Nidus Worm on the right. Generally speaking, it's the mech player who's quite oppressive, but Serral has taken control of this game, and even though he's not really achieving anything with anything, you can tell that sometimes the best defense is the offense, right? Like, Serral is just in his opponent's face, and it's making it really difficult for the Cyclone player, the Battle Mech player, who usually wants to be all over the map and be aggressive. It's making it really difficult for Spirit to move around the map. Serral's pretty good at this game. Like, I think we all know that, but it's nice to get a little bit of confirmation from time to time. He's alright. He's alright. One problem we often see, right, with Battle Mech in particular, so this, like, Cyclone Hellion-based army, is that Zerg players are losing their bases all the time. They can't really get creep spread going. They get punched in the base every time. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the base. Anyways, it's a really... So this is scary, though, for Serral, because he does have a decent army to punch the Terran, but he's not really dealing any damage. And like I said, it's very, very supply-heavy. He is not quite prepared yet with his, what is likely going to be an Infestor Brute Lord switch. And this is a real good opportunity for Spirit to get aggressive. He's going Ghost Academy on the back of this too, which I love. We have a load of siege tanks, a couple of them waiting on the high ground. Oh, that's where the Swarm Hosts are going to try and pick off a couple of them too. Yeah, the Sandwich becomes the Sandwiched? I don't know. The Sandwichy becomes the Sandwich. I don't know. Anyways, he's trying to see if he can snipe those units, and this is buying a good bit of time right now for the finisher, who probably wants to give up these units and then replace them with much better stuff. Oh, one BC down. A new one immediately starts up. I love this, by the way. A single engineering bay to go armory or armor upgrades, because of course the ghosts do benefit from that. Spirit wants to go ghost mech in the long run. Impressive hold right here, by the way, from Serral. Really making it difficult. Like, the Terran's parked out here. I don't know if Serral wants to engage this, really. Like, he's just, yeah, he's gonna try and pick off some siege tanks, and that's about it. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Looks like the Knight is network over here. Got the Knight, but a bunch of SCVs once more had to run. And Spirit is gonna, yeah, he's gonna retreat. Okay. Now my question is, how is Serral going to make the transition from Ling Roach Ravager with Swarm Hosts to Brute Lord Infestor? Like, you can't just throw away all these units, can you? Miscontrol right here on the battlecruiser, it's gonna go down. Yeah, this is an absolute masterclass on how to deal with Terran mech so far. Honestly, he's making this look very easy up until this point. I mean, it's by no means over. But so far, Serral seems to be in the driver's seat. SCV's forced to run. Planetary Fortress goes down. This orbital command was lifted. An extra upgrade coming up in the Greater Spire. There's a burrowed Baneling over here. My god. The SCV was shooting at a... Or it was meleeing against a burrowed Baneling. Tactical nukes is what is still missing in this game, by the way. Let's get that into the mix, too. I think what's good for Spirit at this point, though, his upgrades are solid. And he just has the much better fighting army. If he can find a straight-up engagement against this Zerg player, he's gonna crush it. The only problem is that Serral is not planning on engaging him straight on, unless he moves on to creep, or he can get the initiative with corrosive biles and all that. If Spirit can somehow force a straight-up engagement, though, he is gonna hit like an absolute truck. Look at the bank, though, for Serral. Serral's macroing for game 2 right now. Finally, we have the beginning of something. Infestors are coming. A Medivec. There's the Brute Lords. You have to get rid of these swarm hosts at some point. Like, these swarm hosts are just soaking up too much supply. But do you want to just give them away? Not really. Nah, they're still getting value. Whoa, look at this. We never see this. Serral has traded more cost efficiently than the Terran player throughout this game. That's nuts. That's one of the things that swarm hosts are really good at. And now the Brute Lords are here. This is still an awkward position, though. Because, again, like, this is Brute Lord Infestor, but it's a very small amount of Brute Lord Infestor. What Spirit really needs, though, yeah, he's got the Ghost, so if the Ghost can get close, it's fine, but that's, of course, where the Infestors come in. Not gonna happen, Spirit. No way, dude. Spirit really needs either Thors or Vikings. 20 SCVs, by the way, go down too, because apparently the swarm hosts moved in on the right, and they this time around did not lift up in time, so that's 20 SCVs down the drain, plus the cost of an orbital command. Big Daddy Thor is going to be here. Spirit's still just trying to see if he can build as many command centers as possible. He's even getting rid of some of his own units now to get some of those Hellbats going too, and just to make a transition towards some other stuff. He needs Blue Flame Hellbats in front to deal with all of those Locusts. At this point, I think the age for the mass command center style is over. I think we cancel those things, so we just try to make a really big army and go. This does not strike me as a game that you're gonna win in the long run. Ay, Serral. Look at him. Can we get one more bile? We just need one more bile. Yeah, no, okay, that works too. Jeez. I just want to remind you all that Spirit is one of the highest ranked Terran players on the European server. Serral's making it look like he's playing against a Diamond Leaguer, man. Like, no disrespect to Piotr, no disrespect to Diamond Leaguers, but my god. Serral seems to have everything perfectly in control. The scariest moment was when that Terran army first moved across the map when Spirit was maxed out. But this is just so incredibly oppressive. In a way, I'm kind of glad that recently Clem has been destroying Serral. Like, Clem has been winning like 80% of their encounters. Because if we didn't have that information, I would be afraid for more Zerg versus Terran nerfs. Thank you to, shout out to Clem for keeping Zerg honest, man. Because this is looking incredibly dirty. Total domination here. Now, Spirit is going for a big army. He's got a good force. This is still a winnable game, but it does require mistakes. Fungal, he can't even move out of his bases. He can't go anywhere. Well, tactical nuke. All right, at least that one is going to be going through the center of the map. Serral apparently spots the red dot as well. And he is going to be able to get rid of that. Well, I don't think the Ghost is going to go home. Micros the Viper out of it too, because why not? Ghost goes down, and that was actually a cost-efficient trade again for Serral. Maybe it's going to allow Spirit to now finally get this base secured in the middle of the map. I don't even think you want to go planetary here, because there's going to be Brute Lords. The Swarmhosts are still out, by the way. Not a single one has died. We have a little bit of a Brute Lord hit squad. Yeah, this is a bit overly ambitious. What a strange thing, man. To see 4 Brute Lords attempted to be saved by a bunch of Swarm Hosts. Yeah, this is... Oh, well, we're going. We're still going. Night does not work over on the left. Fungal growth here, too, to shut this down. Ay. This is one of those weird scenarios where we may see the Terran player tap out while being 200 supply. Because this is I feel bad. Okay, so let's think about what Spirit can do. He's got a good economy. He's got a good army. He's got solid upgrades. He's got everything you would need. The only problem here is that he needs to be able to find a straight-up engagement. And every time he's tried to move out so far, Zerg just goes in for the counterattack. If Spirit can force a straight-up fight, and he's gonna have to make that decision at some point, maybe just give up on SCVs and try to make like a 200 supply type of mech army. Just try to go for like the full bulldozer squad. Try to see if you can overwhelm, because you can still always fly a command center to the corner of the map. We've seen him do that already against, for example, Showtime not too long ago, right? Like, there are still opportunities to make this work. Not all those structures over here have been destroyed. Okay, at least the Ghost can cloak. Nidus Worm is going to be denied too, but at least the Zergling run-by is now also a viable option. Serral's got 20,000 resources pretty much, though, in the bank. That's so much. Okay, well, there's no way he's cost-efficient anymore now, is he? Oh my god. Well, he is. Actually, it's gotten more extreme since the last time. Remember that mission in StarCraft 2 where you unlock the bunker in the Wings of Liberty campaign? Where the goal is to try and hold out for long enough. I think it's where you unlock the bunker. Your goal is to survive for long enough until Matthew Horner comes to save you in the Hyperion. Just survive against the Zerg for 25 minutes. That's essentially what Spirit is trying to do here. Because it does not seem like he's got any control over this game whatsoever. Here we go again. This expansion at the front has been mining for a couple minutes. Couple minutes too many, says Serral. Blinding Cloud on a missile turret too to prevent it from dealing critical damage. Perfect number of Zerglings left over to finish the job. 23 additional Zergling, or 23 additional SCVs rather go down. I don't think we replaced them, dude. I think we're done replacing them. We have a lot of command centers. Like, there's actually 4 command centers without a little hat. No planetaries, no orbitals, nothing. That's a bit of a waste. Man, those swarm hosts. I thought we were gonna give up on them a long time ago, but Serral made 10 at like minute 8, and he's never stopped. These guys are so incredibly cost efficient. It's actually nuts. The main cost, I guess, is the Nidus Worms. They're 100... Yeah, they are not free by any stretch, but... Oh, well, finally Swarm Hosts are gonna go down. Is this by design, you think? No, I think Serral thinks he put him back into Worm. A misclick. A misclick. Yeah. Alright. Problem is... Now they're gonna be replaced with much stronger units. Serral already has an Ultralisk Cavern too. This is not really an Ultralisk Cavern that's meant to be used. This is very much so a, oh shit, I need something right now type of thing. Because he much prefers having more mobile units and maybe like more powerful units too, like the Brute Lord in this situation. This is just a, if you need a unit in a pinch type of unit. And he's got the money for it, I guess. I remember seeing those signs in elementary school that said if you see bullying, report it to a teacher. I'm thinking of reporting Serral, man. This is just mean. I feel bad. Spirit is gonna try and see if he can move through the top of the map, but this is going nowhere. Like, maybe he can kill this base right over here. There's a Zerg infestation in the meantime over at the front, over in the old main base. We have a neural parasite being used over here to try and kill a Thor. Now using the Terran's army. Like, this is basically the Zerg equivalent of grabbing somebody else's hand and then slapping them in their own face. Let's see, in a straight-up fight, how good is this Terran army truly? Yeah, it is strong. It does need to be respected. Serral's reinforcing this with Mass Ling, which is actually not ideal. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, maybe Ultras would be better. Honestly, this could still get finicky, though, because that Zerg late-game army is just not that great. But, I mean, look at the bank. I started that sentence. If, like, the economies were even, I think that would have been fair, but... I don't think I've seen as dominant a game that goes on for this long. Ever. There was one tricky moment for Serral. But honestly, ever since Spirit had an Overlord over here and he built the Fusion Core right over here in the main base, like right within vision of the Zerg. Ever since Serral built that first Creep Tumor right over here, confidently, laughing in the face of the Reaper, right? Confidently placing it right over there. I feel like this game has been in his favor. This is a nice little choke point, though. That Blue Flame Hellbent is going to have a blast. Has he seen the Ultras? Does it matter? Base is going to be remade right over here. Missile turret is not yet available, but he can maybe see the shadow. I believe this is the first time that Spirit sees the Ultralisks. Neural Parasites are going to be available once more. A couple leftover Corrosive Biles from the early game are going to prevent that Liberator from dealing any additional damage. New Ghost Academy coming up. Okay. Dude, we're actually at almost minute 30. What a game. I kind of feel like Spirit should have ripped off the Band-Aid some time ago. Like, he's a fighter, it's clear. But I don't think this is the strategy. And honestly, this may be the reason why... This may be a good example. Like, I get the question sometimes, like, why does Terran Mech seem unpopular at the highest level? It's really good against players below, like, the top 20 or so. I think it's an excellent style to play on the ladder. If you're trying to rank up in StarCraft 2, there's nothing wrong with Terran Mech. But when you're facing against the best of the best, it just does not seem like the correct choice. It's also the reason, I guess, why we never see Clem playing Terran Mech against Zerg. Rarely do we see him playing that, especially not against somebody like Serral. Serral going in right now for what could be the final move of this game. Serral still has money to remax his entire army. A lot of Infestors are waiting here too. I mean, this could be good though for Spirit. Okay. Spirit has not been remaking any of his SCVs. Yeah, keep in mind that those late game Zerg armies are kind of mediocre compared to the Terran these days. They just don't have nearly as much strength. So Serral really needs to win by having that bigger economy. 100 Zerglings on the production tab, by the way. Jeez. One swarm host in the main base. Where do we find the APM? Yeah, he's respecting this army. He's respecting this army because Serral's not in a rush. He's here to game. He can keep gaming. Fungal growth. Oh, hunting down all of those ghosts. Now the Thors have disappeared. GG is cold. I mean, honestly, even though Spirit played a good game, he got utterly destroyed in game number 1. I'm not even really sure what went wrong for Spirit. Like, I'm trying to retrace what happened in that game. Yeah, I mean, I think he could have committed more when he finally went across the map. Remember that moment where Serral was playing for the late game, but his army was Roach Ravager, Ling Bane with Swarm Hosts off of like 90 drones for like 5 minutes? There was a gigantic timing window there for Spirit to get more damage done. But the thing is, obviously, as Terran, you don't really know. Like, you can't really have as much information as a Zerg player does, and it's really difficult to make that call. For all you know, you could get overwhelmed by mass amounts of roaches to reinforce all of it, right? There's a lot of things that can go horribly wrong. But I do think that was an opportunity for Spirit to get more damage in, because Serral really did not have that big of an army. Like, he made his army look pretty significant, but it was mostly just a couple corrosive balls here, picking off a siege tank, another set of corrosive balls there, picking off another one. We had a Zergling run by during all of that, right? Like the Corruptors trying to throw a couple of their caustic sprays all over those structures, just to try and buy as much time as possible. But as soon as Serral got that time that he needed, as soon as the Terran drove home from that engagement, he lost like maybe 5 siege tanks and he decided, yup, that's it. Also the Swarm Host flank, I guess. The Swarm Host flank really did come in clutch when he killed those 4 siege tanks on the high ground. But ever since that point, Serral was just in firm control. I don't think anybody could have really stopped him, man. Insane. Insane. I'm hoping for Spirit that we're not gonna go for Terran mech again. Because I just don't think it's the way to play against Serral. Yeah, sometimes there's this weird thing in StarCraft, right? Where like bad strategies or suboptimal strategies, they sometimes appear to be really good because the opponent hasn't played against them in a long time. And it takes a little bit for players to realize, ah, right, the reason why we didn't play this strategy is because of this and this and that. And for most players, there is always a little bit of like a wind-up, right? Where they need to figure out, ah, this is how we like used to deal with it back when the Cyclone was around. Okay, yeah, this is how we used to play against Terran mech. It doesn't seem like Serral ever loses any of that information. I know Serral actually has a really good memory for like every game that he's ever played. He always seems to recall like spawn locations, strategies, and every single thing that ever happened in the games. This is something that you actually see quite a bit with the top level players. They have almost like a photographic memory of everything that happened in every single game that they ever competed in. Serral certainly has that too. And I guess having a strong memory and just knowing how you used to deal with these sort of things. Like, we're basically back to the Cyclone as it was years ago. And I have to kind of like think about all the iterations of the Cyclone that we used to have. I guess Serral just kind of remembers. Anyways. Let's see. One day in like a Finnish retirement home, we're gonna see Serral sitting there at like 127 years old. Somehow his fingers are still nimble. Still reminiscing over that one game he played against Clem in January of 2024. And we're like, ah, yeah, right. Let's get you back to your chair, Serral. It's actually kind of nuts how good some of the players are when it comes to recalling very specific games. Alright, it's gonna be Hellion Banshee to start things off. Third command center, going into an orbital command. This is stock standard and basically the exact same way like Clem would play against Serral. We're gonna go into the Stimpack research, fair enough. That is a much better weapon of choice here. At the very least, it's gonna keep momentum. If it goes well, at least, it's gonna keep momentum on the side of the Terran player. Cloaking field, coming up. This does get scouted, of course, but that's not the end of the world. Because it's gonna come at the cost of an Overlord, and the information is gonna be shown relatively soon anyways. But at 4:30 lair, and we'll probably see Spore Crawlers in about 10 seconds from now. Additional barracks, 2 and 3 coming up. Third command center can be flying on down to the low ground in a moment. Aliens on the wrong side of this pillar. Could have had one of those creep tumors, not quite getting it. There's indeed the Spore Crawlers. Little touches like this are also kind of neat, right? So he's going for the outer Spore Crawlers first, and then a couple of seconds later, do we have the Spore Crawler in the middle. The idea being is that the attack path for a Banshee is pretty much always gonna go into the main base, or in this case, into the third base. Like, they're gonna attack on the flanks. Rarely will they fly straight through the center, and therefore Serral doesn't need a Spore Crawler over there as quickly, meaning that that drone could do an extra trip or two. Meaning it brings in an extra 10 minerals before it ultimately turns into a structure. Small things, but still significant enough. Double Evo Chamber together with a Baneling Nest. So this is going to be good old Ling Bane going up against good old Marine Marauder Medivac. Banshees do go for the natural. Okay, they find a couple drones. Good control here. 3 drones just like that is not bad. Nothing to write home about, but also not bad by any stretch. Combat shields on the back of this. 1-1 upgrades here already coming up. So there's a couple different ways that you can play this as Terran. Either you can go for that more parade pushy style, where you just keep attacking through the center. We see that being quite effective, especially with like an 8 Rex follow-up, for example. 8 Rex on 3 bases. Generally speaking, Spirit doesn't... I don't recall Spirit playing that too much. He's more of a macro Terran who enjoys playing additional command centers and maybe attacking through the flanks a little bit more. It is important, though, to try and deny some of that creep spread, because already we have quite a bit of it going down. This is one of those scenarios where, if you're not careful, you might accidentally find yourself going up against an entire map that's been creeped up, and then suddenly it becomes impossible to really maneuver around. That's, of course, where Clem is extremely strong. Clem with insane multitasking can seemingly get insane value off of just very basic units and keeping that Terran player, or keeping that Terran army busy, constantly sniping tumors. Apparently Spirit is done at 69 drones. That's quite nice. And he has found an opportunity here. Ling Bane, though, already setting up for the flank. He doesn't know about it. Siege Tank is actually going to just get picked off, and Serral is going to try and collapse on top of this. Not enough room in the plane for everybody to go home. Some of the Marines did go in, but this was an easy cleanup right here for Serral. Instant infestation pit on the back of this. I think that means he wants to go into a hive as soon as he goes into 2-2, meaning that he can go straight into ultras as well. Straight into 3-3. Couple of Lings trying to be aggressive here at the front. Popping Banelings. Nice targeting right here by Spirit. In the meantime, there's a push as well happening on the left side of the map. 4th Command Center, by the way, is indeed the weapon of choice. So he's going to go for the delayed Barracks 6, 7, and 8. Good splitties right here by Serral. There's the hive. We should see 2-2. He's got the money for it. Needs to fire up those upgrades. Serral not starting up the upgrades at the okay, he's a little bit concerned. Okay, there we go. A little bit concerned. Prioritizing some additional Banelings. Left the fact, by the way, that Spirit kept those Banshees around. The Banshees are... No, don't lose them now, please. They're so nice. Because Zerg doesn't really have anti-air with this sort of unit composition until much later. So the Banshees really can keep this army at bay. Quite conveniently, actually. It can... Okay, this is good. Nice control by Spirit. You usually keep getting value out of them. Almost like little mini oracles. And this is also a nice fight right here for Spirit, who now grabs the supply lead. His upgrades are much quicker, too, than that of the Zerg. So maybe an 8 Rex would have been a good choice. Push over here on the left side of the map is going to clear out some of those creeps. Okay. Or some of those queens, rather. Maybe some of the creep, too, but... Maybe some of the queens were creeps. That could also be the case. But this is now Spirit gathering a little bit of momentum. Let's see if he can leverage his way into something really nice here. 2-2 is going to be a banger. It's going to make those upgrades. It's going to make these Terran units so much better with those upgrades. Hive is done right now for Serral, so he is going to go into Adrenal Glands. But it's still going to be a couple minutes until this Zerg army is properly ready to go. Ooh, oh god. Those Widow Mines are dealing about as much friendly fire as they are dealing damage to the Zerg. Okay. Serral shuts this down off creep. Little unfortunate right there for Spirit. Losing a couple too many troops for my liking. Gets another queen. Snipes a couple Banelings. Picks up. Gets on out of there. Not bad, though. Not bad. Looks like we did have a Baneling explosion over here on the other side of the map, too. Another bunker gets added to the production tab. Or to the units... What is happening? Units lost tab. It's pretty bad on my side. Maybe fine. Yeah, better at least. Go, go. All right. Apparently there was a little bit of, I guess, a lag spike here. Widow Mine drop. It's going to be important. Oh, this is really ambitious. We're just flying this straight through the creep. Really? Dashing through the creep. With some Widow Mines in its hull. Don't tell me you're gonna get any workers. Okay, maybe 2 workers is fine, yeah. Drop over here is gonna be forced to pick up again too. Ooh, Spore Crawler Rally, not ideal. Bit of an all-army hotkey, I think, for Spirit, but he does unload in the main base eventually. He needs to fire up the transition towards Ghost, though, because if he doesn't go into anything else here, he can get overwhelmed pretty easily. He doesn't know that this is not an ultra transition. In this particular instance, his army is fine, but this is now Serral seeing an opportunity and immediately grabbing it with both hands. Fight on the right side of the map, though, is going to go quite a bit better here for Spirit, who accidentally overstimmed his units, but he is going to be able to destroy that. Wall-in is going to be critical here for Spirit, who should be able to get his reinforcements to clean most of this up. SCVs, why are we over there? We had to go and seek refuge in the natural. Push at home will be cleaned up too by Serral, who's now got his eyes set on the planetary fortress. That one goes down. This is pure Ling Bane, by the way. Pure Ling Bane. No Ultras, no Lurkers, no Hydras. No nothing. Just Ling Bane. Well, suddenly I'm not really liking this Terran economy and the Terran's position very much anymore. A couple of Vipers in the air too, by the way, just to be a nuisance. Just sprinkling a couple of happy little... happy little swarms around. A lot of damage being done. Those two will have to get repairs. Otherwise, they're gonna die. Serral ready to collapse on top of all of this. Now, that was a nice lucky Widow Mine hit on the top of your screen. But is there enough left over right now for Spirit? A couple Blinding Clouds too to make it difficult for these ranged units from the Terran player to really get much done. Now I'm liking this game much more for Spirit across the board compared to the previous one. Couple mistakes from Serral certainly also did help in that department. I don't think you're gonna find much of a better opportunity than the one that we're seeing over here. But ultimately, Serral just seems a little bit too good here. Even playing a very suboptimal unit composition, just Ling Bane seems a bit silly. Almost seems a little risky, but yeah, especially when Terran doesn't even have a Ghost Academy. Putting down, for example, an Ultra Cavern is a great idea. I mean, I don't want to undersell the Vipers. They're really adding a lot, but ultimately, there can only be one winner, and in game number 2, it's Serral. That takes us to the map Neon Violet Square. Another big macro map. Let's see, what can we do here as Spirit? So game number 1, you play Big Mac. Hey, haha. You unintentionally funny. You play Big Mac and it just didn't work out. Game number 2, you get into a good position with Marines and Marauders and Medevacs and Mines and all that. Like any Terran unit that starts with the letter M. But you still ultimately get outplayed a little bit. I like that game better. But what do you do now? Oh, Command Center first. Okay, I like it. I think maybe some sort of big timing attack. You could go for full cheese, that's an opportunity of course, but a big timing attack, especially on a map like Neon Violet Square, you do have some real opportunities. So on a map like this, you do have that pocket expansion in the top left-hand corner. So we have only a couple of mineral fields over here. It does come with the full gases, not as useful for Terran here, at least not in the early game, but you can actually hit some banger timings. It is critical, of course, that you defend the early game. But if you manage to go into a quick command center here and then a fast third base as well, you could, well, normally, I guess with a regular third base, you could go for like an 8 Rex all-in really quite nicely off of triple CC. But maybe on a map like this, if you play super greedy, you could maybe do like a 7 Rex all-in, something like that, because of the reduced mineral fields, and just try to go as hard as you can on the other side of the map. Because it seems like in a straight-up game, Serral just has Spirit's number. Gotta do something here. I think your best odds are to try and catch him off guard. And we have seen that several times before in the past. The games, for example, that Serral played in important tournaments over the last couple years against Oliveira come to mind. Where, yeah, Oliveira just managed to catch him off guard with those 8-Rex pushes. And sadly, of course, for Spirit, that is something that Serral is well aware of. And because of that, he's been practicing against that sort of thing, I'm sure. But I do feel like you kind of have to do something. And Neon Violet Square is certainly a map where you can try and pull something off. Serral preparing right now against the first Reaper. Normally it would show up right about right now. 2.5-ish minutes into the game is when you expect it on the other side of the map. A little bit earlier than that. Now that he doesn't see it, that means that the slow links get a bit adventurous. Scouting whether or not there's a proxy here, potentially. Maybe it's right next to Hansen with the latex gloves. You never know. What does this say? I had French in school for a long time. La reprise? Okay, I don't know. I'm not even gonna try! What's here? Oh, literally the same thing. Little Murloc Marine over here, too. Okay. It's gonna be triple CC. I like it. I wouldn't have minded like a straight triple Rex or something along those lines. Anyways. That does kind of look to me, though, as a Terran player who wants to play straight up. I applaud the attitude. Just don't know if it's gonna work out. Because so far, Serral just seems a little too fast, a little too good. Strategically a step ahead. Macro is too good, micro is too solid. Keep in mind that in the previous game, Spirit also did get some pretty good Widowmine hits on some of those Banelings and stuff. I guess he also had some Widowmine hits on his own army, which was, yeah, suboptimal, but there's the Stimpack research. Okay, Tech Lab coming up on the factory. Barracks 2 and 3. Yeah. Number 3, good. Third CC. Okay. Okay. Now here comes Serral. Always a deliberate scouter. He already knows what he's playing against now. You'll have to double check whether or not it's like an 8-Rex or like a quick 4th command center or something along those lines, but this is all the information that he needs to learn right now that he can just drone. 4.5-minute lair. We should see a Baneling nest in a moment. Maybe a transition towards double upgrades. Something along... Oh, Roach Warren. Okay. Yeah, so Serral's reading this as an 8-Rex. Serral's reading this as an 8-Rex, and generally speaking... Oh my god, well there it comes. Generally speaking, roaches are the weapon of choice. So that scout that Serral saw just now, I mean, obviously he's got the same thinking process as I'm trying to explain here, right? Like, you went macro with mech in game number 1, macro with bio in game number 2. What is he gonna do in game number 3? Because I've been beating him left, right, and center. Yeah, he's probably gonna go for some sort of timing attack. Turns out he's right. And roaches are really, really good at holding timing attacks. Lingbane can also work. But in general, Roach Ravager is just a bit easier. Doesn't mean that you have to stay on Roach Ravager for the entirety of the game. Alright. So maybe this is what Serral has been cooking up as of late, right? Against those 8-Rex pushes. Like maybe he's been in some trouble in some of those tournaments he's played, but maybe he's figured out that this is his favorite. Oh my god, if he can get a siege... Oh my lord. Oh my, he gets a siege tank. Oh. May as well tap out. Honestly, I mean, you can't. You shouldn't, because this is important. Like, this is Home Story Cup. You can't tap out. But losing the siege tank here, yeah, that's... if I was a pro gamer giving commentary to a game like this, they would be calling GG right now. That honestly takes all the wind out of the sails of Spirit. Spirit, isn't he going 7-Rex? He is ready to essentially just build off of the command centers that he's got right now. And effectively what you're trying to do as Terran in this scenario is just build a large army and then go across the map. And your backbone damage is the siege tank. So, yeah, if you lose a siege tank like that, you need at least a couple. It's completely shutting down most of this. Now Serral's thinking, yo, what if this guy is gonna take this as an opportunity to maybe build a 4th command center, but less, like later than he originally intended? You know, it'd be really sick if I can get a couple of lurkers going. So Serral's effectively using this as an opportunity right now to transition towards lurkers. Hive is coming up. I mean, imagine you're doing a big marine push. No plans of transitioning to a 4th, no plans to ever go into Ghosts or Liberator, and you suddenly see a bunch of spines coming out of the ground. There's about 0% chance that you can hold with Marines against Lurkers. It's just not going to happen. So if Spirit is too passive here, because he just lost the siege tank, he's going to get overwhelmed, for sure. Can't believe Serral sent like 6 Zerglings in and got a freaking siege tank, man. That's nuts. That's, I think, the best thing he could have killed there. I know some people had question marks in their heads, right, whenever they saw Serral in 2024, because, yeah, he's been doing his military service, yada, yada, yada. How good is he still? Well, so far he's looking pretty good to me. 7 lurkers on the production tab. Seismic spines coming up. That's the ranged upgrade. Lurkers aren't very good until they get that ranged upgrade. Here comes the siege tank squad as well. He needs to find a position. Lurkers are already here. Oh. He doesn't have scans, right? Like, with this type of attack, you don't have a lot of scans. Like, you have a few, but you won't have enough to really reliably kill lurkers. That's why Serral is pre-splitting some of these units too. All that the finisher is looking for right now is these upgrades. Okay, we have a YOLO drop towards the bottom, but a lurker was left behind. 2 lurkers were left behind over here too. Serral anticipating this play. Oh, dude, what a series. If you're a Zerg player, you're eating this up. If you're a Terran player, I recommend you close your eyes, man, because this is just... I've not seen a series at a high level be this one-sided in a while. Yeah, you can't do anything here. I mean, you can wait until 2-2 is done, but there's no 4th base. Like, this is non-stop production. I don't know if it would have gone much better if he had a single siege tank added in the mix. I don't think it would have, like, done much more, but... It's just the cherry on top of the cake right there for Serral. Ah, he's just dancing. Oh. Little donation. Good guy Serral. Felt bad. Decided to give his opponent a Viper. Okay, Spirit's best choice right now is YOLO drops. Serral's already prepared. Jeez Louise, he already made a bunch of Spore Crawlers here and Queens on the perimeter of the main. He wasn't quite fully ready of it yet, though. And yeah, Spirit is actually getting some work done now. Because there was no Viper in that dead space? Okay, there's an opportunity maybe over here in the middle as well for Serral to, yeah, take some damage. Liberator is shutting down the mining over there. Now, these are very ambitious, but they do kill the base. Clean up in the meantime, though, in the main base, too. Spirit did deal quite a bit of damage over here with this Liberator. 17 kills. I would say that's all right. Okay. And you know what? This all came crumbling down. I mean, it's still not a comfortable spot for Spirit. But this is a hell of a lot better than it was a couple minutes ago. When those lurkers first hit the battlefield, I kind of thought it was game over. But Spirit still had follow-up plans. All of them were very, very risky. Like boosting Medivacs into the main base and hoping for the best. I don't think you can do that anymore right now. Now, he still doesn't quite have the tech though, right? So he starts up a 4th command center, okay. Dropper Lords on the production tab too. Apparently this is how Serral was planning on doing a counterattack. Lurkers are going to be dropping in the main. Medevac drop coming in on the right side. Push over here in the middle. Another Viper? No, not quite. Couple abductions here to force these to unsiege. Queens and Hydras are going to have to run in to try and keep all of this around. Here's the Lurker drop heading towards the main base. Okay, a single siege tank. Not quite enough though. The lurkers are keeping this at bay. How about the Dropper Lords? These are going to be really annoying to clean up. Ghost Academy coming up, though. So ghosts will be happening, but you do need a bit more economy than this. Moves them outside of the circle. Basically just forcing as many scans as possible, because this is not one of those mass command center games. So forcing 4 scans for 4 lurkers, that's a pretty nice trait. That's why we also have some missile turrets coming up here to try and get some detection out. This is forcing the entire Terran army back home, though. You can see that Spirit panicking a little bit. Use the all army hotkey to bring that army back home. Suddenly that gives Serral a lot of wiggle room now. Who's ready to be the aggressor in this game. Baling Nest on the back of this. Creep spread is still nowhere to be seen in the middle of the map, so at least that's some... maybe almost like a permanent remnant of the aggression from earlier. Spirit is going around the top section of the map too. Still with a very large army. Yeah. Couple lurkers over here in the middle of the map though. There's just no detection. This is so rough. Like when you're not playing Mass Command Center, but you are already going up against lurkers. I guess you can go Ravens maybe, but they're just gonna get abducted. You don't really have any detection against those lurkers. And if you're not paying attention, oh god. Well, just like that. Thank you for the Q, Spirit. Yeah, if you're not paying attention, you lose half your army for free. 22 SCVs go down. Planetary Fortress is now building, and it's finished over here up the gold base. YOLO drop in the main base. I mean, he knew that there were spore crawlers there. He decided to just go for it anyways. Couple leftover lurkers, at least they will be scanned. I don't know if there's another scan available though, because everything is going on as well on the other side of the map. Siege tank goes down. Lurker still in the natural. Push over here at the front is also not gonna achieve much. Not quite a flawless series for Serral, but still an extremely dominant one. He obtains the victory 3-0 over Spirit.